The New Orleans Saints signed Alvin Kamara to a new contract. Ladies and gentlemen, big news out of the Big Easy. Alvin Kamara is a Saint, more than likely for the rest of his career. I was sitting on the couch watching the New Jersey Devils. I had a huge bet on the Devils to win. It was 2-1, and then boom, 6-2. The Tampa Bay Lightning, which is not good for me. So I was about to ascend to the roof of my apartment building. And I said, you know what, let me check Twitter. And what did Twitter have for me was this news of AK-41's contract. So we're going to talk about it. The backdrop, Boot Crew Media. Let's go.
For the first time in what feels like a long time, Saints fans got good news this Tuesday, and it involves Alvin Kamara and his future in New Orleans. We'll talk about it right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast. Coming into this season, Alvin Kamara's future in New Orleans kind of up in the air, right? Pretty much a dummy year at the end of that contract and would pretty much void and him become a free.
Yeah, we knew that Kamara was not going to play on the deal that he had set up. We knew that the last year was that dummy deal. No one is going to play for $0 guaranteed dollars. So we knew that the Saints had to either move Kamara or work a deal out. Now, it was a big risk for Alvin to play in general, just to play that deal in good faith that the Saints would make good, I guess, on the promise. And I'm assuming they had a conversation. Otherwise, there's no way he would have been playing. But as the season kind of turned downward, it was a bit shocking that to see this get done because, some people think that the roster has quit on Dennis Allen or quit on Mickey Loomis or quit on the organization. And, well, it turns out that's not the case because Alvin has inked the deal in the middle of one of the worst stretches in recent New Orleans Saints history. So it says a lot about Alvin, says a lot about the man he is and what he thinks about the city and what he thinks about the franchise. Obviously, he loves New Orleans. Obviously, he loves being a Saint. He wants to be a Saint more than likely until he retires. So that's one thing that we can assume moving forward is that AK is here to stay. I love that he's here. I think Alvin's a great player. The Saints are in a unique situation right now, or maybe not unique, but interesting because right now the Saints it's absolute doomsday if you listen to literally anybody in New Orleans, content creator or fan or analyst or whatever. But if you look around, the Buccaneers injury situation is horrible. You're talking about Chris Godwin's out for the year, Mike Evans out until somewhere around week 11. Just got smoked by the Ravens. The Falcons just got smoked by the Seahawks. The Falcons are frauds. We all know that. And the Saints, although they have had a horrific 5-game stretch here, presumably they are going to get healthy. They aren't dealing with the ACL injuries that Chris Godwin's dealing with, and they aren't completely fraudulent like the Falcons. So the Saints are kind of still in that mix if they do get a big-time winning streak going. And if they can find a way to beat a Chargers team that is very vulnerable, Chargers team that's not that great, if they can get healthy, sounds like Carr will be back in week 9. So maybe sooner. You never know how that goes, but I would assume week 9 is when we see Carr. I would assume Taysom, Chris Olave, Cesar, Pete Werner, those players are back any day now. And then in a few weeks, we'll see Eric McCoy. So, it is doomsday to most people who watch the team, cover the team. But news like this, it's kind of one of those like, okay, hold on a second. Wait a minute, like maybe this can be a catalyst for something else.
Free agent. So there's been a lot of back and forth. Will the Saints sign him to an extension? Does he want to stay in New Orleans? For the second part, he made it very clear he wants to stay in New Orleans. He'd like to be a Saint for life. Yes. And a lot of us Saints fans would like for him to be a Saint for life because he embodies everything you want as a football player and a leader for this team and really embraces the culture for the Saints through the good and the bad. That said, we got some good news this Tuesday if you wanted Alvin to stick around because he's signing a 2-year extension with the Saints worth $24 million, puts him under contract through 2026. And before anyone gets mad about this, I actually think this is a great deal for 2 reasons. A, I still think Alvin can play at a high level. And
yeah, obviously, we saw what he did at the beginning of the year. I think he can play at a high level. Any notion that he is, any notion that he is slowing down physically, if you watch first couple of games of the year, like just physically, you can tell that he is not slowing down. So, I don't see any reason why anyone should be upset about this deal.
If you feel like you can't, just go back to the first 2 weeks when they actually had a semblance of an offensive line and go look at the damage that Alvin was doing against the Panthers and the Cowboys. 2, I don't think this deal was bad at all. In terms of contract length, it's only 2 more seasons. It's through 2026, and that is it. In terms of average salary, $12 million a year. Ain't bad, especially in today's market. I think running back contracts could kind of go up over the next couple of years. I think we're starting to see the value with guys like Saquon and Derrick Henry signing their deals. So $12 million is definitely something that I think you can tolerate if you're worried about the financial implications of.
I mean, the financial implications are simple. I mean, you're basically paying him top 10 running back money. Like you're saying like you're going to be in that world of a top 10 back. I mean, if you look at the running back contracts right here, it's all a little different depending on the guaranteed money and depending on the perks and the bonuses and whatever else. But like if you look at Derrick Henry, so he's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's getting paid 1 year, $10.2 million contract with the Titans. So, 2 years for Kamara, $12 million in that same ballpark. Obviously, Henry is overperforming that. But again, he's 30 years old, 1 year contract, $11 million, whatever it was. Pretty similar to what the situation is with Alvin. So, I'm not surprised at all that the contract is what it is. And like Chris said, like if running back contracts do go up, this will be right around that market value. So, you're paying him to be, you are paying him to be a premier back. There's no doubt about that. Like you are paying him to be a premier back in the NFL. And obviously they believe that in this system, he can be a premier back in the NFL.
Of it. And I think for New Orleans, I think we're getting a new coaching staff next year. I've been very adamant about that. If you're a coach coming in, you want to know you have some dogs on your team that you can rely on and some offensive playmakers. And Alvin is one of those chess pieces. So I think for the most part, this is mostly good. I really don't know how you could see any negative out of this unless you're one of those people who just wants a complete fire sale.
I mean, you had to have players, right? Like you had to have players, and I wouldn't necessarily blame the Saints for trading Alvin if they would have decided to trade him or decided to however they're going to do it. But if he is adamant, again, like we don't know these conversations. If he is adamant that he wants to retire a Saint and he wants to be here and he loves New Orleans and this is where he wants to be and this is his home and he doesn't want to get moved, and you feel like it's the least the franchise could do is if he wants to be here to try and find a way to have him be here. Like if all that stuff is true, then it's easy for us. It's easy for us, especially right now when a lot of fans are disenchanted or a lot of people are disenchanted with the team. It's very easy to be like, get rid of Kamara, get rid of Davis, get rid of Jordan, get rid of Tyrann, get rid of Lattimore, get rid of Dennis Allen, get rid of Gayle Benson. It's like, man, I mean, I hear you, but you do have to field a roster. So it could have went either way. I wouldn't have blamed the front office for going either way. Again, I'm not really privy to those conversations that are being had with Alvin, and what he has said. So I'm okay with this too. You do have to have players. I think Alvin is a good player. I mean, I have a Alvin Kamara Offensive Player of the Year ticket. Like I after the first couple of games, like this guy can do this. Like this guy still has it. He still has something. At age, I mean, look at Derrick Henry. That's all I'm going to say. As far as like aging running backs and whatnot, he's a back that fits our offense perfectly. Another thing I would think this does is it tells you that Kubiak is safe. Like it tells you that there is no plan to move off of this system, I would think, if getting this deal done. Because I don't think you would plan on making any kind of huge overhauls with Kubiak in the system signing Alvin. So I still think Dennis Allen's getting fired, but I think this at least kind of tells you we're going to keep the offensive infrastructure in place.
To tear everything down, and to some degree they do need to tear things down. But I don't think Alvin getting rid of him, especially when he's been adamant about wanting to stay in New Orleans, should be part of the teardown. So Alvin gets to stay for another 2 years. There's a good chance he finishes his career out with the Saints, which I think is exciting for us fans because this player has been so special to this team. And prior to the last 3 years, all Alvin really knew in New Orleans was winning. I mean, the culture completely changed. Their success as a team completely changed the minute he got there. So I'm amped up about this. Maybe this leads to better results later this year. I think Eric McCoy will come back eventually. Lucas Patrick and Cesar Ruiz can be back this Sunday. So Alvin just got the new deal. Maybe he has a nice breakout game this Sunday against the Chargers. But for now, some positive news in a season that has really beat us down with a lot of negatives, a lot of injuries, a lot of losses, a lot of frustration. We get a brief moment to kind of enjoy this contract extension for Alvin. So I think it's a great deal for the Saints. I think it's one that gives you the leader in the building, continues to kind of further that connection between the two. And I still think Alvin can play. I know people are going to bring up Cam Jordan's age and his contract and bring up Demario Davis starting.
Yeah, I mean, and one is not one is not all. Like, just because you sign Alvin doesn't mean you're going to keep Jordan, keep Davis, keep whoever. Like, they may be looking at this like, okay, who can we keep? Who can we move off of? Like, what can we actually do here? Alvin is another one that, like Chris kind of hinted at, he might galvanize the locker room. He may galvanize the locker room as kind of that, like, I'm not quitting on this team. I'm not quitting on this, this franchise, whatever. I'm here. It might kind of boost that locker room morale, especially with everybody coming back. So this, to me, certainly calms down the talk, which I've said in a million videos. I think the talk of the Saints quitting is ridiculous. And it's shocking, the idea that this team in week 4, week 5, week 6 are willing to go out there in front of God and everybody and get dominated for 11 straight weeks, even when the team is winning in some games. So different video for a different day. But if nothing else, this calms down that Alvin wants out, that Alvin is not here for the team, or that he's moving on from this locker room.
Slow down a little bit. I don't think any of these situations are remotely the same. I think Alvin proved when you got that line in front of him, when things are clicking, he can still be that guy. I don't think that was the same situation, let's say, for Cam Jordan. And it's not me knocking Cam Jordan. It's just the truth of the matter and trying to ease any concerns for fans who think this is one of those deals where it's a loyalty thing. No, I think Alvin can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I said it, though. I don't think it's like, okay, well, Alvin signed his deal, so we have to keep Jordan. We have to keep blank. We have to keep blank. We have to keep blank. I think Alvin can legitimately still play the position at a high level. He has legitimately played the position at a high level this year. So, and he may play the position at a high level this year still to come whenever we get some players back. So I agree. I don't think it's like, all of a sudden we're going to start handing out sweetheart deals to every single player who's been here for over 5 years.
Still play. And if the Saints felt otherwise, I don't think they would have signed into this extension. Yeah. So Alvin's on board for another 2 years. I'm happy about it, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. So let me know in the comments section below. And as always, stay tuned for more content here from the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for Who Dat Nation.
Yeah, good job, Chris. So I think, I think it's going to be split. I think it's going to be a polarizing contract. I think some people are going to be happy that he's here because, 1, they like Alvin. 2, I think some people like me think that he can still contribute at a high level. Then I think you're going to have some people who want this thing to be blown up. Like, they want this thing to be new roster, new players, cut everybody, trade everybody. There's definitely that crowd. And not that one is more right or wrong than the other, but I think this will be, if I had to predict, I would guess this is going to be a very polarizing topic. But get down in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this. Thoughts on the news, thoughts on Alvin Kamara's new contract. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.